So kind of some ideas on what we've done in the past. We did, and these are on our blog, the giant turnip is a story that I just love. I love it because there's so many fun things you can do with that, at all the different stages. Of course, everybody loves the story, but one of the things that we did when my son was in 5th grade and we did the story is we tied it into the botany lessons that we had. And so we went out and we looked at what turnips were and what they, we tasted them, what different things you would do with turnips. And then we painted them. And, we had the story and we kind of did fun things with the story all week long. And then we got the modeling beeswax out and we all made not giant ones, but we all made turnips from them. And so it really became a lesson that incorporated the beeswax very, very flawlessly. And that's really, I think, a great way for the younger kids to use it. And some people ask me, well, what do you do when your kids are older? Now, I've known people who have sculpted the Colosseum for Greece. And Mel did one, and she has a picture, I think, on her blog. I think it was the Colosseum. In fact, Mel, if you're in the chat box and I'm wrong, tell me what it was that you put together. But it seems like it was the Colosseum. And it wasn't big, it wasn't huge, she just made it real small. But, the beauty of it was that it was something that they could tie in and another way to really get into what they were studying, and really kind of play with it. Now today, I think we're going to make mushrooms. And so we've got some white, and we've got red. And the reason why I was trying to come up with what story we could pull together. And this is one of my favorite books. This is Puck the Gnome by Jacob Straight. And I really love this book. And there's this really funny story in here about how he tricks some of the really mean gnomes. Because if you don't know the story of Puck the Gnome, he's this gnome that kind of has, in fact you can see on the cover, he kind of has this deformed foot. And one faces front way and one faces back way. And I think in the story he talks about how he takes 2 steps forward and 1 step back or something like that all the time. And so he's kind of got this sweet little personality, and all the other gnomes make fun of him. And so he just decides one day that he's tired of being made fun of, and he does this mean thing to some of the mean gnomes where he puts like a gross pile of mushrooms on top of strawberries or something, is what it seemed like. So if you wanted to do mushrooms and model mushrooms, you could, use a story like that or make a story up. That's always perfect too. So what we're going to make is we're going to make these mushrooms, and really you want to get it good and pliable. And I want to talk again about the differences between beeswax and other modeling mediums. It's more like modeling clay. When you get modeling clay, it's hard. You have to work with it to really get it pliable. And so that's really a huge difference from Play-Doh. This also doesn't go bad. So, when I'm done with it, I stick it in a Ziploc bag and just, keep all of our stuff together. I try to keep the colors separate if I can. They don't, unless they get too hot, they kind of don't melt together and stay together. Sometimes, though, you can really make a cool modeling effect by melting the two together, and it makes fun colors. But the great thing about it, too, is once you're done with a project, you can recycle it, because it will get hard when you're done playing with it. And then you can recycle it by sticking it in the freezer usually, and it'll get hard enough in the freezer that the pieces should just pop apart. And so that's usually what we do when we're done with something. We just kind of stick it in the freezer and have it, come apart then pretty easy. And again, I would keep some in your purse. I would keep some in your church bag if you go to church every week. I would keep some any place that you need to keep people busy. This is an absolute great thing to work with. So again, it's more like clay in that you're pushing and you're pulling rather than playing. And so again, in that respect, it's not a medium that you really want to start instruction on until they're old enough to be doing something with instruction. So I would say definitely let them play with it before first grade, but really it's kind of like drawing in the respect that you're doing it, and if they want to join you, then they can join you, kind of thing, and having it available to them. So after that, when you're, in first grade, you can start doing some instruction. And again, I would start really small, and I would just start with really basic forms. And the great thing about, again, about this insert that comes, and again, you can get this offline really easy. I'll make sure that we put the link, is the insert shows basic forms. So it shows here a basic form for a person and what you can do to put it together. And this year we made a nativity. That was a lot of fun to lead up to Christmas. And it actually shows instructions on how to make a nativity. It's fun to make, if you're doing grade 3 in farming, it's fun to make fruits and vegetables out of it. I remember one year we made I had them weave a basket out of it. Like, we made long strips, and they made a little woven basket, and then we filled it with little tiny fruits and vegetables and put it on the nature table for a while. That was fun. And like I said, we've done pumpkins. And what's great, I think we did pumpkins right around the time that we painted pumpkins. And so
you did.
Remember it was this last fall.
Yeah.
So we kind of tied it all together where we were painting pumpkins and drawing pumpkins. And it's really an experiment in color and in getting them to just really experience the nature of the beeswax, for one, because it feels like such a living element in your hands, doesn't it?
I have a question for you. Is this just beeswax? Is that all that's in here?
I am not, because all of the information is in German. It's more than just beeswax. And I know there are some people who have made their own. And I want to say we've got some links on our Yahoo group of people that have kind of made their own from beeswax, and then maybe added, maybe lanolin to it. I'm trying to remember.
So good. My hands feel so good.
And it makes your hands soft. When another application for it that I really like is when we make knitting needles, and once you get them all sanded really smooth, then you should wax them. And so one of the things I do is I have them take a clear piece of beeswax and we rub it on there, and then you just kind of rub it in with your hands, and that helps your yarn go over it easier.
I should do that to my crochet hooks too.
Yes, you should. Absolutely.
I didn't even thought of that.
Absolutely. And it seems to, to really rub in really well. So, I'm sure there's something else in it to make it pliable and to keep it together. Because if you've played with honeycomb or beeswax, it's really very crumbly. So, I'm sure there's something to it. And it's different from candle wax even. But it's just a fun medium. I love the way your hands feel. I love the way it smells. So we're going to go ahead and get started making our mushroom. But okay, so what we're going to do, ladies, is trade me. And I'm going to work on, now it's funny because this is the piece that was in the hot water. And it was really pliable when we pulled it out of the hot water. In fact, it stuck to the bag, and I had to stick the bag in the freezer. But now that it's room temperature, and it gets your hands really working too. Your hands will probably be sore tomorrow. And then I like it because you can just cut it. And so our mushrooms aren't going to be huge, but we're each going to take
Or maybe
a
we should put
piece.
these together.
Yeah, if you can get the reds to go together. Give each of us a piece of the white, the base of your mushroom. One of the things that I really like about beeswax too is if you're using it for a child who's doing a botany block, then you can really challenge them. Okay, let's look at that mushroom. Let's look at how it looks and really work on getting the form of it right. So we're going to have a little bit of white, and then we're going to take the red, and I'm going to cut everybody some red.
The thing I'm surprised about, because this didn't work for us, obviously we had the wrong kind of wax, but we've been playing with this for a long time and it's still soft. I mean, it's getting softer.
Mm-hmm.
But